Hiya Billy, just wanting to respond to your request about, I was alive when, so to speak, and I've watched all of them, and I think they're all fabulous, and they all say things which, I would have said. And you, of course, said everything I would have said, just like normal. I also was there when man landed on the moon. It must have been even more exciting for you to have your own American land on the moon. For me, in a little village in England, in the dark, watching it because my dad had gone to bed, and then right at that moment he came downstairs, and I thought he was going to spoil it, but he didn't. He just crouched by the door and he watched man land on the moon. And for him, more so than a young, however old I was at the time, 17-year-old girl, it must have meant something even more to me at 17, when my whole life was in front of me. And this is what was going to happen. Wonderful things were going to happen. And it started off with that. And yes, I remember getting the TB, and I remember President Kennedy being shot. And over with us, they took off Bonanza. So then they could, put him on the news over and over again. And I remember my sister and I being upset because they'd taken off Bonanza. The stupidity of it. The stupidity of youth. I remember being the first girl to wear a miniskirt in our village. See the size of me now, and I was wearing a miniskirt. It wasn't always this big. And yes, a lot of things have happened. Walking down the street now, not that I walk, but you know what I mean, and everybody's got this thing stuck to their ear, and they're talking. I think really, excuse me because I'm sore, I think really the telephone has replaced like the transistor radio, when we used to have that stuck to our ear all the time. I think it's a way of not looking at somebody now. We have this telephone stuck to our ears and we're talking, and it's a way of not looking at that person who's going by you. Do you know, it's, I don't want to be the miserable one, because everyone says such nice things, but I can remember when I was a kiddie, I used to go in the woods, there was an innocence. I used to walk about 3 miles down to the river. Not that I needed to. I had a little river at the bottom of my garden, but that was just a brook. It wasn't a river. I'd go out for the day. We'd go blackberry picking, bilberry picking, rosette picking. And we'd disappear for the day and we wouldn't go back till tea time. And there was an innocence. I'd go off with all these lads. And it didn't matter because we were all innocent. I'd go off with one particular lad. Oh, I used to like him. And we'd play house. Excuse me for a moment. This always happens when I'm on the phone. Hello? That always happens when I'm on the phone. I was going to say, oh, on the phone to you. But when I'm filming. So what was I saying? Do you know, being 55, I forget. I'm sure lots of other 55-year-olds don't forget. I think I was talking about going to the woods with that one particular person. And we used to play house, and it was going to be our home. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And I don't know, it's as if when I was a kid, to be intimate just for a minute, you'd only go so far, and you wouldn't go no further. It was that innocence, it was that... I think that's where I'm at tonight. I'm a bit upset. We've got murders just being put on the news tonight. Our kid last night went and put on her video about the protection for the prostitutes. Well, tonight they found another 2 bodies. We thought they'd found one, and then within a moment they'd found another. And somebody's out there killing them. And that's what I can't get used to. The lost days of innocence, and now we're into war, aggression. Like I said before, nobody looks at one another. If I say thank you to someone for waiting, you know, for me to go by in the wheelchair, they look surprised, you know, shocked that I've actually gone within their world. But I can't explain it. We don't speak to one another nowadays. Anyway, the one thing I wanted to read was just a little poem. And it more or less sums up how I feel. And I'm sorry if I've, you know, not been as happy as everyone else. I am happy, really. I like being 55 and get away with a lot of things I couldn't do when I was younger. Yeah, I like being 55. But there's just a sadness tonight, 1 or 2 things which have gone missing. So I'm just going to read you this. Ignore me, I can't read it as good as everybody else, but it's what I feel. Today we mourn the passing of a beloved old friend, Common Sense, who's been with us for many years. No one knows for sure how old he was, since his birth records were long ago lost in a bureaucratic red tape. He will be remembered as having cultivated such valuable lessons as knowing when to come in and out of the rain, why the early bird gets the worm. Life isn't always fair, and maybe it was my fault. Common sense lived by simple, sound financial policies. You don't spend more than you can earn. And reliable parenting strategies. Adults, not children, are in charge. His health began to deteriorate rapidly when well-intentioned but overbearing regulations were set in place. Reports of a 6-year-old boy charged with sexual harassment for kissing a classmate. Teens suspended from school for using mouthwash after lunch, and a teacher fired for reprimanding an unruly student only worsened his condition. Common sense lost ground when parents attacked teachers for doing the job they failed to do in disciplining their unruly children. It declined even further when schools were required to get parental consent to administer Panadol, sun lotion, or a sticky plaster to a student, but could not inform the parents when a student became pregnant and wanted to have an abortion. Common sense lost the will to live as the Ten Commandments became contraband. Churches became businesses, and criminals received better treatment than their victims. Common sense took a beating when you couldn't defend yourself from a burglar in your own home, and the burglar can sue you for assault. Common sense finally gave up the will to live after a woman failed to realize that a steaming cup of coffee was hot. She spilled a little in her lap and was promptly awarded a huge settlement. Common sense was preceded in death by his parents, truth and trust. His wife, discretion, his daughter, responsibility, and his son, reason. He is survived by 3 stepbrothers. I know my rights, someone else is to blame, and I am a victim. Not many attended his funeral, because so people realized that he had even gone. Is that where you're at? Have you lost your common sense? Or do you still live by the Ten Commandments? Do you still live trying to help your neighbour? Do you smile at people when they go by? Do you open a door for somebody? Do you try and spread happiness wherever you go? I hope so. Yes, there's been a lot of changes. Some good ones. But unfortunately, the bad ones outweigh the good ones. Sorry to be serious. There are good things. I love talking on YouTube. I love talking to you. I love you talking back. But tonight, that's not how I feel. Bless you all. God bless. Bye.